Once upon a time, nestled snugly between rolling hills and meandering streams, there lay a quaint little village called Whimsyville. Now, Whimsyville was not your ordinary village. No, sir. It was a place where laughter danced in the air like confetti, and mischief was the order of the day. In this charming village lived a man named Farmer Fred, whose love for his prize-winning rooster, Rufus, knew no bounds. Rufus was no ordinary bird. Oh no, he was the Elvis Presley of roosters, with feathers as golden as the sun and a crow that could rival a brass band on a Sunday morning. Now, Farmer Fred was preparing for the annual Harvest Festival, where villagers from far and wide would gather to celebrate the bountiful harvest. But there was one problem. Rufus had lost his crow. Instead of the majestic cock-a-doodle-doo, all that came out of Rufus's beak was a feeble peep-a-squeak. The poor rooster had caught a cold from staying out too late one chilly night. With the festival just around the corner, Farmer Fred was in a panic. How could he present Rufus to the judges with such a pitiful crow? He tried everything to cure Rufus: hot chicken soup, warm blankets, even a serenade of soothing lullabies. But nothing seemed to work. In a stroke of genius, Farmer Fred decided to seek the advice of the village's eccentric inventor, Professor Peculiar. The professor was known for his outlandish inventions, from a self-peeling potato to a bicycle that could fly. With Rufus tucked under his arm, Farmer Fred knocked on the door of Professor Peculiar's workshop. The door creaked open, revealing the professor surrounded by a whirlwind of gadgets and gizmos. "Ah, Farmer Fred, what brings you to my humble abode?" exclaimed Professor Peculiar, adjusting his goggles. "It's Rufus, Professor," sighed Farmer Fred, holding up the ailing rooster. "He's lost his crow, and the Harvest Festival is just days away." The professor scratched his chin thoughtfully, his bushy eyebrows furrowing in concentration. After a moment of pondering, he leaped to his feet with a twinkle in his eye. "Fear not, my dear Farmer Fred, for I have just the invention to solve your feathered dilemma," declared Professor Peculiar. And so, with a flurry of sparks and a whirlwind of contraptions, the professor set to work. Days turned into nights, and nights into days, until finally, the moment of truth arrived. As the sun rose on the day of the Harvest Festival, Farmer Fred stood proudly in front of the judges, Rufus perched on his shoulder. With a deep breath, he signaled to Professor Peculiar, who stood in the wings with a mysterious contraption in hand. And then it happened. Rufus let out a crow unlike any other, a symphony of sound that echoed through the village, making hearts soar and spirits dance. The judges were astounded, awarding Farmer Fred and Rufus the coveted title of Best Crow at the Harvest Festival. And as the villagers cheered and clapped, Farmer Fred couldn't help but smile, knowing that in Whimsyville, even the silliest of problems could be solved with a dash of creativity and a sprinkle of magic. And so, dear friends, the tale of Farmer Fred and Rufus the Rooster became legend in the whimsical village of Whimsyville, where laughter reigned supreme and every day was a new adventure waiting to unfold.